And Vanessa Carpenter would just elaborate on the 4 slides I had earlier. Now, I showed you just earlier on, but what I didn't mention was that I'm actually currently doing a study on what roles grassroots movements will play in the future in environmental politics. Will they have a significant voice, and which technologies will they be using? So, it's a great place to be for that.
We are a part of 2 groups. One of those groups is GeekPhysical, which I'm from Vancouver, but now I live in Copenhagen. Mona lives in Copenhagen. And I started this company called GeekPhysical, and we're sort of focusing a little bit on grassroots and sustainability and everything else. This is Mona's study. So 50% there, and 50% on making some really crazy projects, having fun and looking for people to play with. So we're just going to go through some of the projects that we do. And who we are. We like to bring people together with technology in a very literal way. We like to play, be a little bit playful, be a little bit crazy, be a little bit hands-on, and invent things and explore. And I don't know how many of you have probably seen this picture. It's very popular, but it's really upsetting. It's how the computer sees us. So there's a keyboard, so obviously we have a finger. There's some speakers, so we have some ears. There's a monitor, so we have an eyeball, but that's about it. And because we work with tangible, embedded, interactive, blah, 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 we know that there's a hell of a lot more going on. You know, there's tons of sensors that you can have and everything else, so we like to play with all of those and see what's possible. And at all costs, avoid looking like this. It's called the critical core set. So this is a core set that we thought we would play with attraction a little bit. And when the wearer's heart rate went up, because you're attracted to someone, it should get tighter. So we made it. It was fantastic, except that then we realized in a test that I was doing, which was me on a dance floor drinking Red Bull and dancing, your heart rate goes up for other reasons. And I got squished a lot. So we started playing with other things. I married a Dane. And we decided we needed her research. Very important. And we decided to have a geeky wedding because he's the other half of GeekPhysical. He's the inventor, the engineer. And so our wedding bouquet explored galvanic skin response. So as I held on to this bouquet, it would measure my galvanic skin response, or my emotional response. And if I was calm, it would be blue. And if I was nervous, it would be white. So everybody in the entire assembly could see when I was nervous or when I was calm. And then we went on to make the biometric social interaction system, and this sort of brought all the elements together. So this was temperature and heart rate and galvanic skin response. We played a little bit with brain waves, and we made a system where 4 people can sit around a projected image, and they can see what's happening in their bodies by wearing a finger sensor, and then they can talk to each other and provoke each other and see what's happening and send their biosignals to each other.
I think the really interesting thing about that particular piece is you don't have to talk to each other. You can just have that glance across the floor and it will
just the eye contact
on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
So Illutron, the interactive collaborative art studio I've mentioned before, we have a barge located in Copenhagen Southern Harbor, and we do all kinds of amazing stuff. We do workshops, we perform, we build, we play, we explode stuff, we blow things up. Work with fire, metals, electronics. We have, how many robots are we having now?
We have 6 industrial robots at the moment.
Great. Most of them working. We did last
2 years ago, February.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did something called Parallelia at the Boston Winter Festival. We had this like 3 cocoons, very Doctor Who kind of cocoons, like very Dalek feel to it, that had dancers inside them. But the dancers were really exciting because, instead of just looking pretty, when the audience would interact with the dancers and touch them, the dancers would change lighting.
The dancers were equipped with a theremin. So if you know how a theremin works, basically it's like when you get close to a radio and the signal clears up.
Yeah.
That's, sorry, Danish English. So yeah, basically when you touch dancers, their light changes and you get a giant fire explosion because we love fire.
Yes, and yes, a huge robot that now pushes buttons. So you could like do a little drawing, just a little kid's drawing, hand it to it, it would scan it, read it, and then go to the screen and actually push the buttons to project that image of your little kid's drawing. So
we also had another part of this robot which was fun because he was in a very high art museum, like highbrow art museum. He was kicking around in there, and he had a camera on his head which was doing facial recognition tracking. So as he walked by, he would sort of flirt with you, and if you're walking by here, he would sort of check you out and go up or go down and follow you around. And then if somebody put a drawing up, he would go and do that and draw the drawing again.
yeah.
And of course, because he was retired for 30 years, he used to grind toilet seats. That was his whole job. We decided he was a grandpa robot, and we programmed a little bit of grandpa-ness into him. So he wasn't quite sure if he had turned on the button or not, and he always had to double check a little bit.
And then there's the singing plant. So personally, I found this really interesting because I'm all about the sustainability. Come on, it's over there. So basically, thermins, again, you touch the plant and it sings, and this has enormous potential, I think, in terms of advocating and just causing awareness to plants and what they actually do. They're not just some green stuff, they actually have social impact on us and a huge environmental impact and benefits that we don't always see, listen to.
We had this one at the Botanical Gardens in Copenhagen, and then later on we had it at a flower festival, and we moved from the termine to capacitive touch, just like how your phones work. And in that way we were able to say, okay, you're not just getting close to the plant, but now every leaf has a different sound and every part of the stalk, and many people can be touching it. So it's quite fun.
Culture Suborbitals. Yeah, so like I said before, we're located in Harbor. We then had a Culture Harbor event where we did a sailing movie. We did a fair seesaw. Oh, that's not a seesaw. Okay, we had like a seesaw, so we could have like a thin person and a thick person, and it would still be fair and balanced. Stuff like that. I think you know more about
We
this.
had a first-person sound and vision project, so one person was wearing camera and microphone, and I think that was about it. And the other person was wearing goggles with a video screen in them and headphones, and they would be at opposite ends of the boat. And so we have a 800 square meter boat, that's our workshop. So with them at opposite ends of the boat, one would be experiencing what the other one was seeing and hearing and feeling and touching. So that was lots of fun.
Roskilde Festival 2008. Have any of you been to Roskilde Festival?
Have any of you heard of Roskilde Festival?
Okay.
It's the biggest rock festival, I think, in Northern Europe, if not Europe.
Yes. Definitely Northern Europe. I think maybe also Europe. So basically what we did was we lined up a circle of drums and drunk people, music.
If there's one thing they can do, they can hit things.
Yes. But special thing here, when they actually got together, created a beat and kept the beat going for a while, the payoff was a humongous flame effect. So drunk people, music, fire.
If I can just expand on flame effect, if anybody knows Roskilde Festival, there's a giant stage. This is where like Jay-Z and who played there last year? Chemical Brothers, all these people. Huge, huge stage. 80,000 people can gather in front of it.
Yeah.
My point is that our explosion rocked the orange stage.
Yeah. And last summer's Roskilde Festival. So this is still in construction period. But basically the installation was Sound 9, and what we have here is a interactive pole. Because, you know, poles are becoming a big thing, and I don't know in Norway.
It's here too.
It's here too, okay, but you know, in Scandinavia it's becoming quite the
Fun
fun pastime and exercise. No, seriously, it is. It's an exercise now. So ours were interactive, and you would get a sound effect from it, and also a corresponding light effect when playing with it. They were so popular, so enormously popular that they broke almost after they were initiated.
We tested them. We did something, and please excuse me for any Swedes in the room. We did this drunken Swede test.
Yes.
Now the drunken Swede test involves 10 large men jumping all over this pole and yanking it in every direction that they can.
Yes.
And 45 minutes after the festival opened, 4 completely solid metal poles were ripped to shreds.
Yes.
So while we do full testing on Roskilde Festival, these people were amazing in their destructive habits. But Sound 9 also had 8 other installations, hence the Sound 9, where we had hair dryers that you could dip in a bathtub to make music. Light sockets you could put your fingers in to play a piano.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and the highlights?
Oh,
Highlights?
no.
Power lines.
Power
That you
lines.
could touch and play with like a guitar.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Without
good times.
dying.
There's just another shot of it there. We did one back in the days of when Amanda here was in Malmo, Sweden with us. And we decided that we wanted to explore critical design and communication. So we did the ladies and men's room mix-up. And we went to a popular nightclub. And first we just started with some regular signs and switched the toilet signs and had some fun watching people get confused. And then we made these signs, which were on the doors, so every 7 times the doors open and close, the signs changed. And the whole idea was that we had noticed in these nightclubs, you have like this band of beautiful Swedish girls and you have the slightly geeky Swedish guys, and these two are never going to talk to each other. It's just not going to happen. Unless you confuse the hell out of them. And then, all of a sudden, there's girls in the boys' room, boys in the girls' room. Everybody's like, what the hell? What are you doing in here? Get out. And they're like, no. You see the door? It says it's for me. And yeah, confusion led to communication. We won. We also work with another group called Copenhagen Suborbitals, where one of our members is a crazy person who...
let's not say crazy, let's say excited.
Sorry. He's a very creative person who has always wanted to build rockets. He went partway into engineering school, dropped out, hated it, and really, really wanted to build rockets. But unfortunately, there's a lot of paperwork around rockets. And as it turns out, there is no paperwork that you have to do when you build a submarine because nobody expects you to build a submarine. So this is his 3rd submarine. The first one was about from Mona to myself. The second one was 12 meters long, and this one is 17 meters long. It's the largest civilian-built submarine in the world.
Yes. And it's fully functional.
Yep.
It totally works. And,
12 people diving, good fun.
Yes, we had a submarine ballet on this one as a cultural event where we had dances and wetsuits.
Wetsuits. Well, we had 2 submarines running then. We had professional ballerinas and ballet men on one submarine, and sea creatures on the other submarine going up and down the harbor doing a performance.
Yeah.
So once he had fully impressed most of Copenhagen doing submarines, he suddenly got approval out of nowhere to build rockets. And because Denmark has no space program of its own, we are now running the first amateur rocket to be sent suborbital first and space second that will launch this June. So this rocket will go up this June and send someone suborbital, not into space yet, but that'll be the next one. And it's all good fun.
Send someone?
First it's going to be a dummy.
Good idea.
The first 10 times it'll be the dummy, and then maybe the 11th time it'll be Peter. We'll see.
So if you're ever in Denmark, go up that, say hi.
These are the websites for us. You can check them out. We have lots more projects on there. These are just the more amusing ones. And so, maybe you want to explain what we're doing here?
Yes. Well, I mentioned earlier that I'm a big fan of greenwalls. Mostly because, well, they have such interesting features. They are a very visual presentation of something naturistic, something urban combined. But they're also like lying to us a lot, I feel. Because people see them and they're like, oh yeah, there's something CO2, environment, something climate.
Or just pretty walls.
Or pretty walls.
Wall.
I like pretty. But really what they do best is stormwater management. And New York City is currently saving like $50 million on a 10-year time span just implementing green walls. So instead of having to redo the sewer system, you just green walls and they work. So something really interesting to do with these things would be to make them talk more about what they actually do, not only the visual effects but also the hidden effects.
Yeah. So we had a few ideas. You know, if we take this singing plant idea, maybe you should go up to the green wall and you should pet it, and one of the plants should tell you, this is how much CO2 I'm saving.
Yes.
Or perhaps it should be an interactive light display that shows a graph of showing how much stormwater it saves for the day.
Yeah, how many particles
Yeah.
has it sucked up during a week? How much water purifying effect has it had? How much have your serotonin levels gone up just by looking at it for 30 seconds?
Which we can do with eye tracking. So what's exciting is that Vancouver has 3 or 4 different companies that are working on green walls right now. They're popping up all over the place. Vancouver General Hospital has had a green wall for ages. And this convention center that we're going to be spending time at this week has a green roof. And we just thought, you know, for all the ones that we've seen, we haven't seen anything on their websites about what they do environmentally or sustainability-wise. And we thought it could be a lot of fun to tell the people who are passing by these green walls what's going on, what's happening, and do it in a fun, interactive way where people get to touch and feel and taste and see the plants. So that is what we're up to. Yeah.